Hey everybody, welcome back. Devin, the OG, the original Grognard. Yeah, sorry for that little, you might have caught a little bit of delay there at the beginning. I just wanted to make sure I had the buffering timing right for when I started streaming on Twitch. Most of you are probably going to be catching this after the fact on YouTube, but I am doing this through Twitch. So let me set up a couple things real quick first. So I make sure that I have everything right, and I need to, there we go, there's that. Let's see. There we go. Set this out to social media, so a few people who might be interested in following the Twitch along with this. We're going to go ahead and give those people a chance. And I will explain in a moment why I'm doing this on Twitch. So let me get... and please, if there's anybody out there, if there's any issues with buffering or anything like that, because on my side of things, it's looking like it's buffering pretty bad on Twitch. However, I think the recording is going out fine. So the stream is going out fine to everybody. So let's go ahead and check with that. Check with that. That looks all good. And let's check something else real quick. All right. Mr. Lee Javi is saying it looks like it's going well. Is it buffering any? Because on my screens, on my two screens that I'm keeping an eye on with it, it's totally frozen. And so I'm guessing that's it's my feedback to me, because I think right now I've got pretty crappy internet service. So I'm hoping that this is going out with a clean stream. So yeah, let's go ahead and, you know what, let's just go ahead and jump into this anyways, because if anything else, I'm going to upload it to YouTube anyways. So why am I here on Twitch instead of normally like I just do streaming straight to YouTube? Well, pretty much the reason is I use OBS as my streaming source. So anything I do streaming wise from the computer goes to OBS, and OBS sends it out to wherever I tell it to, basically, be it YouTube or be it, oh, getting a message back. Bit of buffering. Okay, well, hopefully that's not going to be too bad, Mr. Lee Harvey, my buddy Christopher says. Let's see, check a message there. Yep, all right. So the settings on OBS are the same. It's I'm sending it out 1920 60 DPI. You know, it's sending it at the same bitrate transfer, all that other stuff. However, if I send the signal to YouTube, it looks like garbage. it really does. I don't know what it is. However, if I send the exact same signal to Twitch, it comes out hella better, a lot better. Oh, and people are saying it's frozen. All right. Well, I don't know what to do about that. So I'm just going to continue going through this, and hopefully people will have the patience to bear with me, because I know the final video that gets uploaded to YouTube is going to be a lot better quality with no buffering, because I think Twitch is either it's on my end, I'm having problems getting the signal through. But anyways, so that's why I'm kind of sending it through Twitch, recording it, then uploading it to YouTube later, because even though it's the same settings, the quality is just better on Twitch. And for some of these computer games, you just need to have better, higher quality if you want to get a chance to see the graphics. So that being explained, what are we looking at? Carrier Battles for Guadalcanal. This isn't even an early access game. Notice in the lower right hand corner, this is a development build. I was fortunate enough to receive a gift of this through Steam from the designers and developers. Take a look at it. And I will admit, I really, when I received it, had no clue about the game. I hadn't really heard about it. Evidently, it operated as a mobile game eventually, or an Android or some device game, whatever your chosen device game is. Again, something I'd never heard of. I guess it had been kickstarted, and again, I apologize for my lack of knowledge and information on this. So I was given it, and it's about 6 weeks from release. I think it's going to be released early June. And so I've fiddled around with it and played around with it for couple hours maybe. So nowhere can I say I am well versed in the game. However, I have played it enough to know that I kind of know what's going on with the game enough to give you a playthrough and give you my impressions on it. And honestly, from what I've seen so far, I really do like little things here and there, and I'll mention them as we go through. One of the things I really do want to say, I am both really impressed and I really like how the in-game rules are set up and laid out, as we can kind of see here, but I also wish it had a little bit more information in them. Now, I don't have the manual. As far as I know, the manual isn't available on Steam yet, so there may be more information in the full manual, and the little points that I wish were more filled out, I'll mention as I go through it. But they've got really good explanations, in-game explanations with really clear, concise pictures of all the different game mechanics. One of the great things is they've got all the aircraft listed in their different forms and what their stats are on each form, which I think is really cool. So you got this Boston Bomber. It can either be in a bomber mode or transfer, but then you've got the Claude that can be in a combat air patrol, or can be in a bombing mission, or can be in a transfer. So you get to see what all the different aircraft are in game and what the stats are in each mode, which I think is really cool, because it's a good way to figure out, all right, if I want to do drop tanks and have him move really far, what's my movement value going to be compared to if he's loaded down with bombs? And then they go into endurance and ammunition, and they really spell out, it's like this right here, if you run out of endurance, if you're at -1 when you get back, there's a 10% probability crash at landing, and 30, and it's explained on, and then it goes into the different types of runways. So in my opinion, take a look at the ships. Again, great breakdowns, a little bit typesetting is offset, but this isn't the final build yet, so not that important. Let's see, check and make sure y'all are seeing what I'm seeing. At least early June. Okay, so looks like we're about 15-20 seconds behind from what I'm seeing on the screen. But then they get into Task Forces Intelligence, a lot of really good information. Then you get into sequence of play. The game is basically broken down into one turn is an hour and 20 minutes, but each turn is broken down into 4 action phases of 20 minutes each, which is, if you're doing a 3-day long campaign, that may seem like it's a lot of turns, and it is. But when you're dealing with rearming planes, getting planes on deck, getting them launched, I mean, I think 20 minutes is a pretty good unit of time to go for the action phases. And then there's also the option that you can speed it up a little bit. You can do an hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, however far ahead you want it to advance without having any action. And then it goes into air operations. Now, I will admit, this is where I kind of wish it was a little bit more complete. I'll explain it when I get into the mechanics of it. And then it goes into how to conduct air searches. Now, this game really reminds me of the old SSI game, Carrier Strike. I think it was Carrier Strike. Or maybe it was Carriers at War. Carrier Strike, done in 1990 something. And then Matrix Games picked it up and redid it more recently, as I think that one was at Carriers at War. So that's what this game really reminds me of, and is showing me, if you know how to play those games, you should be able to step into this game relatively easy. It goes into search radiuses, and then, oh, that was air searches. We just did that. And then it goes, and it's got some tutorial videos in-game of how to set up strikes and everything. And again, it's if you just watch these in-game videos, it is, if you've played Carriers at War, Carrier Strike before, you got a good idea how this works. So, and then contacts when you have airstrikes. Air attacks. I will say the graphics in the air attacks of this are pretty cool. Maybe not quite as cool as the original Carrier Strike or Carriers at War, but yeah, here we can see in the in-game video, you've got the planes flying across, and then you get the results. And I mean, there's no 3D graphics in this, really. It's all counters, and you know what? I'm fine with that. I don't mind using counters for a hex encounter war game. I don't need 3D graphics. I think most of us can agree with that. And then air attacks, naval movement. It goes into naval movement, and there's a lot of on-screen. It's like if you've got a task force that can move, then it'll tell you, hey, you've got a task force that can move during each phase. And like we say right here, each action phase you may move a fraction of your task forces. A lot of numbers shown in the naval move, and yada, yada, yada. If you don't have at least 4 task forces, you won't see a number. But it goes into how to move. And of course, you can't move on or through ground hexes, no move or through reef hexes. Carriers can't move into coastal hexes. But then again, it gets into your speed, and this is also kind of part of the damage. It shows you, instead of just saying, hey, a crippled ship has an orange band along it, it actually shows you crippled. There we go. Very slow. It shows you what the different iconography on the counters mean for fast, very fast, normal, slow, so on and so forth. And I think that's really cool. And then here you have the different stats for the task force counters, what blue means, what black means, what a yellow band means, so on and so forth. And then gets into surface battles, and we've got a little video here. It kind of shows you how surface battles run through. So suffice to say, and then you got unloading and bombardment. Then you've got advanced rules that get into ships and forces. And it gets kind of into the meat of things. Like if you go into air combat, it'll tell you single round of air combat is fought with each stack. Examples. It gives you the charts. And that's one thing I really love to have in my computer games is I like knowing the under the hoods type stuff. I like knowing the charts. I like knowing the tables. There's a lot of games that don't, a lot of computer games that don't do that. This one does. This one has got, you know, it shows you, boom, right here. So, yep, and then occasionally we'll get a development error pop up like that. So really, really, I think good in-game rules that could be expanded on just a little bit, and I'll get to the specific points. So that's the rules. Let's go ahead and take a look at. Now, I will say right now, this is not, multiplayer. It's not set up for multiplayer right now. It's just single player. But you can play as either the U.S. forces or Japanese forces. And it's kind of cool because we've also got some hypothetical battles in here. We got the Battle of Wake Island, and this one's, I've kind of messed around with this a little bit. And it's kind of cool because it's hypothetical. What if America had committed sending a task group to try to relieve Wake Island with more troops, supplies, and send a couple carriers into the area. So that's an interesting little one. I haven't played that one all the way through. That's been my that's where I've been testing the game at. Revenge raids. Yeah, here's I think this one's a hypothetical. First counterattacks U.S. fleet in the area against Rabaul. Then of course we have Coral Sea. Everybody knows Coral Sea. That's a good one. And what other? We've got Midway, Operation Watchtower, which is Guadalcanal. Eastern Solomon, Santa Cruz Islands, Guadalcanal, Operation Cave, Bismarck Sea, and Rabaul. So we got enough scenarios, and they are going to be bringing more scenarios out. And of course, you know, you have your options here. And I'm fairly certain each one of these is the options is unique for each scenario. So SB2U indicated for the defensive midway was sent to Wake instead. So, you know, you can put that there. SB2U, which I'm not really sure what that task force designation is. You can turn that on, and then the U.S. will probably have extra forces. Coral Sea, instead of historical split, Yamato commits all its fleet carriers to secondary ejection order. Better, yeah. So that we've got that. So you've just got little. Oh, here's one. Not having attacked Tokyo in April, U.S. carriers Hornet and Enterprise available. Ooh, America get 4 carriers in that one. Not bad. So you got different options for each scenario as you go through and play. Okay, so Christopher is saying that one of his other streamers is on. She's having a couple buffers here and there. Could be coincidental. Could be Twitch is saturated. Well, it wouldn't surprise me with as many people that are quarantined for this, whatever it is that's going on. More people are probably assaulting Twitch than you would normally see. So let's go ahead and just go jump into Coral Sea, because I love Coral Sea. Anybody who's watched the channel knows I rave about Coral Sea. I've done other playthroughs of Coral Sea in other in other games, most notably Second World War at Sea from Avalanche Press. Most people focus on Midway as kind of the turning point of the game, or turning point of the war. I personally see Coral Sea as being the instrumental carrier battle, because without what we did at Coral Sea, it would not have set up the victory at Midway. People focus on Midway, but they ignore what happened at Coral Sea that allowed us to win at Midway. And as I go through the playthrough, I will probably be mentioning that. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's see, what options do we have? Instead of the historical chaplet, Yamamoto commits all his fleet carriers to the second objective in order to have a better chance for the upcoming Battle of Midway. Full Keto Batai. That would probably mean carrier group 3 or 2 would be added in, which would add a couple more carriers. Probably Soryu and Hiryu. Okay, so we're not going to go with that. We don't. Well, if I were to go with that, I would go with having the U.S. option, the U.S. having the Hornet and the Enterprise, which could make for a really cool battle there down there at Coral Sea. Random setup, composition of Japanese task force will differ. Yeah, let's go with that one. We like not knowing what's going on. Air reinforcements, knowing the Japanese moves, RAF planes are allocated to defense support Moresby. Yeah, let's go with that as well. We don't know what exactly it means, but let's go with it anyways. So let's go ahead and we're going to play the U.S. And that's the Hornet, I believe. I believe that's a picture of the Hornet. It's either the Hornet or the Lady Lex. So, all right, first carrier battle in the world. Japanese will attempt to invade Port Moresby and Guadalcanal. Since the capture of Rabaul, this is the first move towards the isolation of Australia. Orders: intercept the Japanese and prevent from landing at Guadalcanal and Port Moresby. I have 3 days. That would be May 5th through the 8th. I'm pretty sure that's what the days are. So, I mean, anyways, so we got a bunch of buttons over here. We got the back to the main menu. We got the rule summary, which, I mean, is great. We can bring up any of the basic rules or the advanced rules just by clicking one button. And look. Okay, that's loud. That was blowing me out. All right, I found that the settings are more easily accessible from outside of the game. So anyways, all right. Jump back in. And since this is a development build, it's still a little bit wonky. Kind of got to push the new game button a couple times to get it, but that's okay. That's nothing major. I'm sure that'll be cleaned up by the time. Let's check our options. Options are good. Let's go with Play US. Back into the scenario. I'm back to the description of the iconography here. This is basically your turn tracker right here, 4 actions per phase, and it basically says current game time and day scenario. So it's 0400, the first day of 3 days. Then you have got this, which is the map view. And okay, I will have to admit the map view is pretty damn cool. I can't talk. Pretty damn cool, with the exception of a couple things. You kind of notice the hex grid as I'm moving around is a little bit powerful and kind of warbles, and it can, you know, it's a bit disconcerting. I think they could go with a thinner hex line perhaps, or maybe changing the color to black and making it a little bit thinner. It's just very, very predominant in the hex grid. But this is, you know, this is the area of the South Pacific where the battle, or Coral Sea, where the battle happened. Here's New Guinea, and we've got Port Moresby right there, and then you've got Rabaul up here, Japanese base over Ball and Gasmata. And of course, the Solomon Islands over here. Santa Cruz. Coral Sea. And of course, Australia itself. And there's, what is that? That weird, Townsville. That's right. Townsville and Cairns. Can never remember those two city names. So, and as you can kind of see, the water is also kind of, it's hard to tell, is that clouds? I mean, that's clouds right there. So, I mean, I think you zoom in, and it looks pretty. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It looks pretty when you're zoomed in. And then, of course, you can see we have rain hexes here and the overcast hexes. And then, you know, these green dots are coastal. So, well, I'm guessing they're coastal next to the reef. So carriers can't conduct operations and can't even move in there. Yeah, carriers may never move into coastal hexes. So, but let's take a look at what we got. U.S. force-wise, we got Task Force 44. Yeah, that's the anti-aircraft. They were kind of out there. The Chicago, Australia, Hobart, Perkins, and Whipple. Yeah. And they're on autopilot, and they're going to hex 39.75. Now, this is one thing that you kind of got to pay attention to. If you click on the task force, you can kind of look where they're going to, because it usually puts a flag. Or you can just look for, you know, manually look for 39.75, which, no, that's not it. 39... So there, yeah, 39.75 over here someplace. 39, yeah, okay, so there, yeah. In fact, there it is. You can't really see it because it's hidden by the Port Moresby, but it's a, so they are on autopilot, and that's nice, because when you're running with 20-minute turns, you're not moving the carriers a lot, and sometimes you might forget to click the button to move them. You just put them on autopilot, send them in the direction you need them to go, and, you know, that's fine. And you can change the target of the autopilot. You just click it off, and then if you click on the autopilot again, so click it off, and then, why is it doing that? Okay, yeah, choose destination hex for autopilot. You just choose what destination you want it to go to. So let's say we send it to right there. And then there, as you can see, it puts that little yellow flag, which indicates autopilot for Task Force 44. So Task Force 44, being this cruiser group right here, will start moving that way. And it's going to take them, you know, probably a day and a half to get there. So let's see. Yeah. So let's take a look at the counter. Chicago. If I if I can remember this off the top of my head. Actually, I can't remember what all the stats are, but you know what? That's okay, because we can just go back to the rule summary, basic rules, ships, and forces. So we've got life points, which are basically structural integrity, hit points, whatever. Then okay, so that is going to be life points. What is that? That's damage control. So it's a cruiser with a 3 damage control. And the white is a search plane. It means it has a search plane. 4 to 6 is anti-aircraft value. And what is the 8? Surface combat factors. And if it's in white. So yeah, I mean, it tells you right here what all the different counters, what all the different stats, and what all the different colors on the counter mean. So until you learn what they are, I mean, it's great. You just a couple clicks and you're right there. Let's see, is it still buffering on Twitch? Okay, well, it's a lot of stop and go, but I think that's a problem with all of Twitch, so not just me. So anyways, let's go back. So yeah, you know, the California, it's got a hit points of 3. It's got damage control of 3. Its anti-aircraft value is 2 to 11, which is actually one heavy I think the first number is heavy anti-aircraft fire, and the second number is light anti-aircraft fire, which would represent, you know, I think what would they consider? Probably the 5-inch guns, and bigger as heavy anti-aircraft fire, whereas lighter anti-aircraft fire would be 40 millimeter Bofors, 20 millimeter O'Clarons, 50 caliber the Ma Deuces. So the Chicago and Australia, both cruisers, but you notice they both have different anti-aircraft values. And Hobart is a light cruiser. Not really sure what that indicates, but I don't think it really makes that much difference. But basically, we're going to be using this task force to move over and see. Since I know a little bit of history, I know what's coming. I know that the Japanese task forces are coming from truck, and that or at least the carrier forces are coming from truck, and the invasion force is coming from Rabaul. And basically, the invasion force came right down this way, and the plan was for them to sweep around here and then come up with New Guinea, whereas the carrier force was supposed to come through here, and this is where the Japanese got delayed a little bit. They were trying to transfer some planes to Rabaul, but the carriers got hit with bad weather for like 24 hours, and they were delayed 24 hours, and they had a smaller force that was moving down here and captured a couple of minor seaplane bases that we had here. And it was basically the Japanese there setting up to occupy and expand their bases. So this was the initial invasion forces where they were going to capture them. The carriers were supposed to escort them through and then come around this way and hopefully catch any American forces by surprise by coming around the Solomon Islands. The U.S. forces didn't realize that. Our intelligence reported that we knew that the invasion of Port Moresby were coming. We and Nimitz, I think it was Nimitz, assumed that the Japanese carriers would be coming, through here. Maybe not so much here because it's really tight waters, but they'd be coming from truck over to here in support. It was a little bit of a surprise that the Japanese went all the way around the Solomon Islands, and yeah, it was we didn't know which direction they were coming from, and it's kind of a miracle we didn't get as beat up as bad as we did. So anyways, we kind of got a good idea that their transports are going to be coming down here and swinging around to Port Moresby. So this task force, I mean, it's a good raider force. I mean, the Japanese didn't have very many big ships. They had a lot of cruisers. I don't think they had any battleships that were assigned to the transport forces. So, it's good to get this force over here so they can kind of act as hopefully a last-ditch blocking effort, try to stop the transports from getting through. So now look at what we got. TF 1.7 or TF 17, TF 11. Let's click on this one. This is the Yorktown. Okay, so carriers are a little bit different. Carriers are obviously identified a little bit differently color-wise. The 24 is basically instead of surface gunnery, it's how many aircraft units they can hold. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So we've got the Astoria, the Chester, Morris, Russell, Farragut, Walker, Dewey. And then over in Task Force 11, we've got the Lady Lex with, Portland, New Orleans, Minneapolis, Phelps, Arlen, Monahan, Hammond, Anderson, and Sims. You can combine task forces if they're in the same hex, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So this is a carrier game. Let's talk about the carrier. So you click on the carrier, and here you got your hangar deck and all the different kind of operations that you can do. You can have two different sets of searches going out. This is for Combat Air Patrol. I really hope people know what that is. And then for the different strikes, and then all the planes you have on the deck. And these are the planes that you have in your hangar. Now, each counter, as best as I can figure out, each counter represents 5 aircraft. So it says I have 5 F4Fs, so I've got 25 aircraft, or 25 F4Fs. I've got 9 units of SBD, which is 40 dive bombers, and 3 units of TBDs, which is basically 15. You don't really need to know that each one is 5, but, some of us OCD, rivet counter types, we kind of like knowing that. And then here's a kind of an example of the Lexington right here. And the thing you want to pay attention to is what these paddles are, because that basically tells you how busy your flight deck is. Now we're going to get into a little bit of an issue I have with how this is represented, but it's not too big of a complaint. I may just be misunderstanding everything. So if it's green, operation, and if we, as we cursor over it, come on, cursor over it. Green, operations are proceeding normally. If it's orange, there's traffic jam. Units are somehow hindering other units. Number indicates the cumulative delay in multiples of 20 minutes. Play with priority or recent number of aircraft trying to launch. Okay, cool. That's fine. I get that. And then red is no operation allowed. The problem is each carrier was pretty much unique unto itself and had different operating capacities. Now, way back in the day, as I was mentioning, I think it was Carrier Strike, actually told you how many planes you can have on deck at once without interfering with operations. This one, you kind of gotta guess. And now, like I said, this may be in the full rule book. I haven't seen it, but it's just one little thing. I don't like playing. I like knowing exactly how many planes I can have on deck per carrier, because I was one of the experimental times I was playing it, I just jammed my deck with as many aircraft as I could and didn't realize that my cap didn't have any room to land and all my cap ran out of fuel. Yeah. So we don't do that anymore. However, from here, it is really easy. Let me check chat again. Basically, it's real easy. Okay, you've got these buttons down here, and this is how many units you grab at a time when you click on the hangar. You can move units by stack. You can move units one by one, which is actually the way I prefer to do it. Or you can choose how many units you're moving. So we go move it one by one. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to get some cap up. So let's go ahead and drag 3 units of F4Fs into the cap. I want to save a couple for a strike. I don't think this early in the game I'm going to be running into any Japanese carriers, but it's probably usually a good idea to have some cap up anyways. And it's going to take about 40 minutes for me to get all the planes up on cap. And then at that point, if you have carrier deck space, they'll just cycle through, landing to refuel and rearm, and then land and then go back up. And we see here that we have the number 3 because I put 3 of them to cap. That's fine. We know I've got 3 aircraft on cap. Now let's send out some search aircraft. How do we do that? Well, let's take probably our best fuel efficient planes that we have, which are our dive bombers. So let's go ahead and put out 3 units. Now let's put out 4 units of dive bombers. So it's going to take 40. Okay, now you can see here, we're clogging up the flight deck a little bit. So it's going to take 40. See, now it's changed from 20 minutes to 40 minutes to get everything operational, and it's going to take 40 to 80 minutes to get those SBDs, the dive bombers, in a search roll on the deck and off. So, okay, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. But what you also have to do is you have to set the search radius. Now, search pattern. Angle is applied clockwise, and I will say they do need to fix this. The graphic down here shows the search angle correctly. However, they don't have the compasses marked. It's because this is highlighted as southwest, but it's actually northeast. I push west, it's north. So again, this is development build. I'm sure it'll get fixed by the time the final version comes around. So we want to go ahead and put it to the northeast or northwest, but it says southwest. And then you can choose, you know, how big of an arc that you want to put out, and I think that's just fine. And maximum search radius, so 10 hexes, that's usually the default. You can go for a fast search where they move faster, but they lose a chance of being able to actually spot somebody. So let's go ahead. Yeah, we want to check to the northeast, northwest. Should know that. I live in Seattle. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. So there's that. And then if I were to do a strike, I would pull the counters up into the strike, and this right here would indicate the target. This hex right here, I could choose a target if there are multiple targets out there. And if I wanted planes on deck, I can park planes on deck. But again, like I said, it gets a little bit dangerous because it doesn't really tell you, except for if you look down here, how many aircraft you can have on deck before you start interfering with operations. Although I have a feeling that too, now that I just noticed it, looks like it's all good. And then, so probably 2 aircraft over, so it looks like I can operate for my 5 counters at a time without running into problems. But we'll see we'll see how that works out in the future. Real conveniently, you've got all the aircraft fields. So right here is the Yorktown. So let's go the same with the Yorktown. Let's put some units on cap, and let's put some SBDs on search. And now with the Yorktown, let's go a little bit different pattern. Let's go a little bit to the north, just in case. And you know, the air radius, so the air turns back, it's 10 hex. That's basically 10 hexes. It's going to be going 10 hexes out and 10 hexes back, and we'll see. You don't want to go much further than that, because then you run the risk of running out of fuel. Because if you see, the SBDs have got a fuel of 16. However, when they're in search mode, in fact, let's go take a look at that. Let's go look at air units. Let's go look at. Okay, so where is the US SBD? Okay, right here. Oh, Helldivers. That's the SB2Cs. That's what it is. Alrighty. But anyways, we're looking at the Dauntlesses. And the Dauntlesses on scout mode, as you can see here. So we're looking at Dauntless, and we've got them on scout mode. They've got a range of 20. So 10 hexes out, 10 hexes back. So that right there will tell you, all right, 10 is the maximum range you want to set these guys' search radius to, because any further than that, then they run the risk of running out of fuel. So yeah, again, a really great in-game way of being able to find out stats for the aircraft, well, for anything, really quick. And we can also click on this button here to get to the air operation. So we've set that. Now let's take a look at Cames. What is Cames? Cames ain't got nothing. They got nothing in the hangar. They got nothing. All right. Townsville. Townsville's got a bunch of stuff. Let's see. We got P-46s. Those are fighters. P-39s. That's the Air Cobra. Those are level bombers. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. Let's see. B-17. Ooh, you know what? Let's go ahead and stick some B-17s on long range. Let's stick all of our B-17s on long range reconnaissance. And they've got, yeah, look at that. They've got a 20 hex radius that they can go out. So let's, Townsville, we're going to want to go to north and northwest. Probably just 120 degree arc, because basically everything to the east, or everything to, I wish I could stop, everything to the west is going to be off the map, and everything to the south. So let's go there. So that's good. Yeah, that's fine. And the Japanese, unless it gets really critical, I don't think I need to put any planes on cap, because the Japanese probably aren't going to get anywhere close to Townsville. Let's take a look at Port Moresby. Port Moresby's got some stuff too. Okay, well, they've got some SBDs as well. So let's put those on search, and let's set that Port Moresby. We're going to want probably 120 degrees, 60 degrees, looking that way. Yeah, let's go with that. You kind of got to remember where the units are in relation to the map, so you can set up the search. So there's that, and I know for a fact, yeah, that the Japanese are in range of bombing Port Moresby. So let's get all of our fighters on deck for that, or in the air for cap. And again, since this is an airfield, I've got 9 units up, and I'm still at good combat operations. But I can also, yeah, here we go. As I'm moving I'm readying my planes on deck. Maintaining near units on deck may reduce the pace of operations, especially for carriers. Choose well the payload change out, because once they are dead, take a lot of time. So we're going to load these guys up with bombs, because I'm fairly certain that bombs, I'm going to be in range. I think I can hit both either Rabaul or the other airfield. So let's have some bombers stand by and get ready and prepared for a strike. And okay, so that, I mean, that's what you're going to do probably the first turn, and maintaining what your carrier air operations are is really the important part. So, okay. Now let's take a look at the autopilot. I want to get these task forces as I scroll in and out. 3975. I don't know where that is, but I don't want to go there. So let's turn autopilot off, turn it back on. Let's move right there, and then let's get the Lexington to meet up with them. So we're going to move the Hornet here, the Yorktown here. Hornet was involved at Hornet and Enterprise were up at Doolittle raids. Gonna have the Yorktown sit here on station for a little bit. We're gonna have the Lexington come up, meet up with him. We're gonna combine both of the task forces. It's a great idea. I like that idea. All right, so basically, then what else have we got here for the numbers? Okay, so right here, map view, conduct naval moves. The number of allowed moves this phase is shown in the red badge. So basically, I can move one of my units manually if I wanted to. And since each phase is only 20 minutes long, I can kind of see the reasoning behind it. Technically, each normal moving task force can move one hex. I think it's one hex per hour and 20 minutes. I think that's right. I may be a little bit off on that. But you can't move multiple task force in the same phase, which is why without exactly knowing the exact rules and having the rule book set down, it's why I just like setting stuff up on autopilot. But this right here is saying that I have one task force I could potentially move. And if I wanted to move it, I could click on them, turn the autopilot off, and then it shows me, whoops, let's click on, well, let's go, oh, click and drop. So I can click and hold, and it'll show me the hexes that I'm able to move into. Now, I could only do this with one task force, this phase. But like I said, I'm just going to leave it on autopilot. And as you can see, the little yellow band at the bottom is autopilot. So that's that. Then what do we have here? Show and hide naval units. You can turn off. Air units that may be out. We don't have any air units out. Naval units, airstrikes, and air bases. And then we can turn weather off and on if we wanted to. And then this is the air operations, this brings us in, and then the information and victory points. So this is what this scenario is. So far, current U.S. strategic victory. How many I've lost on both? How many both of us have lost on each side? So, and then you've got the log of important events. Beware the big surface ships can wreak havoc on an airfield at night. Yes, when you have 16 and 14-inch guns shelling from 10 to 12 miles away, or even a little bit closer, yes, that will wreak havoc on an airfield at night. So we've got everything set up. What does that mean? Well, what that means is I need to take a break real quick and head to the little sailor's room, and I will be right back. All right, we're back. For the people in the Twitch channel, how's the sound? Is the sound good? Do I need to turn the music up? Is it too loud? I mean, it's hard for me to tell on my side of things because I've got the speakers. Well, I got the headset right on me, and it tends to drown me out from time to time, I think. So let me take a quick check on a couple other things. How many people are we got watching? We got a couple people watching. So, well, a couple people. That's good. And I think the buffering issue has stopped. So that is a good thing as well. And all right. So anyways, we're back into it. So, okay. So we've set up everything. We've done everything we wanted to do. What do we do now? Well, basically you advance the turn. And that's what this button is right here. Now you can click on it once and it'll advance the turn it'll advance the phase 1 tick, which is 20 minutes, and you will see it reflected here that it'll go to 420, first day of 3 days. Or you can right click on it and bring up, you can play a few hours without any action from your side. Again, we've got a 3-day battle here. I'm sure clicking through every 20 minutes is going to get a little bit boring. The first day, we're probably not going to have much action. I could probably set it to 3 hours, 6 hours, or whatever. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to play it through 20 minutes at a time. Now, one little thing I would like to see, and I don't know if the developers or the designers would do this, but, okay, Quaker Sam, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know that information about the sound. When you click on this, there's sometimes a little bit of a delay, and that could be just because the program hasn't been completely optimized yet, and it does give a click. And if you're not really paying attention to the action phases, the clock right here, I sometimes miss it and will hit it 2 or 3 times thinking that the click didn't go through, and I find myself speeding through 2 or 3 turns. One thing I would like to see is maybe a little pop-up saying 20 minutes advance, the new time, the new date. Basically a little pop-up of this in the middle screen. So, because when I hit the advance button, I want to keep an eye on my ships, making sure they're doing the movement, making sure the search planes are going out. If I got to keep an eye on the counter when I press it to make sure my command is going through or not going through, it's splitting my attention. It's a bit distracting to me. Again, this is just a personal observation and a personal opinion. You don't have to if you don't want to. I mean, I will live with it. But so let's go ahead and, okay, so go ahead and click. See, there was a little bit of a delay. You notice there was about a 2 or 3 second delay in there before you heard the chunk, and then as we can see, we advanced to 420. I know what you're thinking. So let's take a look at the carrier operations. All right, let's go to the Yorktown. As we can see, when we in the last turn, the last phase, it was saying it was going to be 40 minutes before everything was ready and the cap would be up and the searches would go out, but now it's down to 20 minutes, so that's a good thing. And let's take a look at Port Moresby. So 0 minutes. The planes will be ready and should be on deck. Those bombers that I signed. I don't know why the graphic isn't there, because I guess because they're not fully there yet. Yeah, we can click on the timer, and that tells us these are the planes that are getting ready to go on deck. All right, and so then 20 more minutes for the search planes to get ready. And if we click to Townsville, it's going to be the same thing, 20 minutes. Kames has no aircraft anyways. The Yorktown, 20 minutes. Lady Lex, 20 minutes, yada, yada, yada. Although she is still running. Let's see, we've got 7. Okay, now see, this is kind of the difference that I wish was a little bit more spelled out, a little bit clearer. We take a look at the Yorktown. I've got 6 units getting ready, and there's no traffic jam. Makes sense. The Yorktown was a slightly bigger carrier. The Lexington, however, I've got 7 units, but I'm overstocked by 2 units. So that means that the Lexington can only operate 5 units, 5 counters at a time. I just wish, again, all the carriers are different. Japanese carriers are going to be different. Even U.S. carriers are going to be different amongst themselves. I don't think any of the Japanese carriers were of a certain class. Most of them were converted from battle cruisers and battleships. So each Japanese carrier was unique unto itself. And most of the American carriers were until we started getting later in the war, when we were mass producing these things. A lot of these, it's like... the Lexington, I believe she was converted from a battle cruiser. So I just wish there was a little, I don't know, something to let us know how many counters each carrier can operate at the same time. But again, that's just me. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more, and we're going to advance a couple turns. Okay, so... See, it was about a 1.5 seconds delay, and now we're into 440. So we're halfway through the first turn, which again is 1 hour and 20 minutes. Nobody's moved yet, but that's okay. I have the option, if I was manually moving these, I would now have 2 task forces that I could manually move. But let's go ahead and just continue to play it out. All right. Okay, now I've got all three of my task force. Now, if you don't do anything, I'll show you what happens when you get to the end of the turn. But let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so now we've got 0 minutes left. We got 0 minutes left. Everybody's up on deck and running good. Why the counters aren't showing up? I mean, we can click it here. It should show up here. Maybe. Okay, so 0 minutes. They should be up. All right, so let's go back to the main map. All right, so now we're going to be ending the turn, because again we have 4 turns or 4 phases in a turn. Now, all my task force should move. They all are normal move. So let's see what happens. And since I've got them set on autopilot, yep. All right, there we go. They all moved. And my heart always drops a little bit when I push the button. And when I was doing this, when I first started playing, I pushed the button and nothing happened. So like I said, I'd push it a couple, 3 times and I'd, go through 2 or 3 turns. So like I said, just a little pop-up of confirmation that the phase advanced. It's just me. I don't know. So, all right. So let's go ahead and take a look at, oh, you know what? I know why. I think I know why. It's still dawn. It can't launch it. They can't put anything out because it's still dark. That might be something worth adding in as well. The when daylight and dawn, or dawn and dusk is on the time. So let's just go ahead and advance it another. Okay, now we're starting to see. Now we've got some new colors out here. Blue is carrier-based search radius. So basically, all those aircraft that I put up. Yep, see, here they are. Now we're seeing them in their proper boxes. So we've got 15 planes from the Yorktown on search. So here's the Yorktown, and it's following its angle that I set up earlier right here. Oh yeah, I can't change it now, but when I set it up earlier. And that blue is going to grow more as the planes go out. And the more planes you obviously have out and the tighter the radius is, the better chance you have of spotting something. As it stands now, I've got 15 aircraft. They're on a massively wide arc. They're flying over hundreds of kilometers of sea. The chances of me spotting them are iffy. But you'll also notice you've got these orange ones here. For carriers, or for groups that don't have carriers in them, a lot of the ships had seaplanes, which is indicated by the white, and thus they'll put out the seaplanes as their own reconnaissance. You don't have to do anything; they'll do it themselves. Now you can't tell them which arc to do, so it's kind of at the task force commanders, the AI's decision. Excuse me, of where those aircraft are going to go, but it's something. It's at least something. So at least your non-carrier task groups have a chance to see something. All right, let's check chat real quick. Seems like everything's still going fine. So let's keep advancing a little bit. Yep, and as you can see, as I was pulling out, so you probably didn't get to see, your search planes only have a 2 hex wide. So as they expand out, they're only searching in a certain area, so these hexes are not currently being covered. Of course, we really don't need to be because they're right next to me, and I'll probably see if there's any Japanese units there anyway. So, but for each turn, in the hex radius, the aircraft are going to roll to see if they spot an enemy task force. And so you're going to see a lot of this. You know what? Let's see what we can do. I put the airplanes on deck in Port Moresby. So let's try to do a strike. Let's go ahead and put a strike. It's going to take 200 minutes to get the... Well, that's launching all the planes, getting them all formed up, and then sending them off. Okay, so 400 minutes, and let's choose a target, and we click on the strike button, and we can choose a target. Well, right now, we can only bomb the airfields that we can see, which is Leh, which I doubt has anything. Gasmata. I can never remember Gasmata. And then, of course, Rabaul itself. Or you can transfer them to another base. You can see that up at the top. Tap to target a Japanese task force airfield or a U.S. carrier airfield to rebase it. So let's go ahead and see if we can reach Gasmata. Okay, mission, distance to fly. We want, okay, next wave. So, okay, reach target. They'll reach their target at 7:40, and then they'll be back and land at 9:20. All right, so it kind of gives you an idea how long your aircraft are going to be out. The number of units I'm sending 4. Safe return to base so far is 100 because it's an airfield. Or I can have them return to a different airbase. I don't want to. I just want them to land back at Port Moresby. And I can also have the computer warn me when the planes are landing. I don't really need that. So, and then you click on that. Bam! Now, as you can see, it's setting up the strike. Now, these buttons you can push as well. So check stats of the planned airstrike, which is what we just did. And then we can kind of set how we want the bombing strike to go. Even, compact, or random. Even... bombers are evenly allocated to target ships. Maximum number of ships are attacked, but the planes shall be exposed to light anti-aircraft fire. Someone making very odd noises outside my window. Compact, attacking air units are concentrated on some target ships, usually aircraft carriers. The computer will make random rolls to see if the pilots spot the high priority targets, and then they'll all attack that, at least on compact. But then you get number of bombers allocated equals, and it shows, you know, the different modifiers for that. Or it can be just completely random. You know, it's like, all right, yeah, dude, just bomb, whatever. I like compact because, yeah, it usually goes after the carriers. However, as we're attacking an airfield, I don't think it really matters because it's an airfield. And these are level bombers anyways. So we got that set up. And since we spent, oh, that 400 minutes was time out and back. Okay. Since the planes were already prepared and I assigned them to the strike, they're basically going to be heading out to the strike as soon as I hit the next turn because they were already prepared and loaded up on the airfield earlier. So let's go ahead and push the advanced turn button. Yep, there we go. There it is right there. There is the U.S. airstrike. So we can go ahead and click on it, what the composition is, the distance to the target, what the target is, where the hex is, what the bombing type is. Whoops. And then if I wanted to change it, which I'm not going to, I could hit that button. Or I can recall them. And, you know, okay, so since I'm attacking, there's a 90% chance of me finding the target. It's an airfield. I know where it is. If I want to change to a different target, there's an 81% chance that the radio signal will get through and they'll obey the orders. And if I want to recall them, there's an 81% chance of being able to recall them. So that is what a strike in progress looks like. So let's go back. Yeah. And as you can kind of see, we have different stacks of the aircraft. That means they're in different states of landing and refueling. It's going to try to keep as many aircraft in the sky as possible. However, they got to land for fuel sometimes. Oh, they staggered the landing out so they keep as maximum, and the ground crews do what they can to get the airplanes refilled as quickly as possible. But now it is 6:20, and let's take a look at, okay, so here's our search areas, search patterns right now. We still have 3 again, since I've got it set for automatic move, this is always going to be 3 by the time it gets around to the 4th phase. And then let's go ahead, and just to make sure that the autopilot is working, let's zoom in real close, and I love how close we can get in on this. Hit the in-turn. And both the task force moved 1 hex closer to the autopilot hex. And the bands went out a little bit. Ooh, we got a log of important events. Oh, okay, yeah. Intelligence gain. Okay, yeah, I forgot about that. We got Coast Watchers. I forgot that there were Coast Watchers. So, our Coast Watchers have spotted a Japanese task force. Now, TRS, transport. We can click on it. We know, okay, so the position was updated at 5:40. I wasn't paying attention to it. But evidently at 5:40, our Coast Watchers spotted that task force. We don't know what's in it yet because it takes time to gather intelligence. And sometimes Coast Watchers can just give you, it's like, yeah, there's something there. We're just not sure of the exact number. But if you're able to maintain search planes over the target, the longer you have the planes over the target, the more information you get. Right now, we just know that there are transports. Could there be other ships in there? Sure. Could there be carriers in there? Unlikely because it's a coastal hex. But could it be no transports and it's just light ships? We don't know yet. The best estimate is they are transports. And that's one of the kind of things I kind of like about carrier games like this, is because the fog of war is just immense. So let's go ahead and advance the turn again. Let's see, where are our... Okay, there's our... Whoops. There's our bombers. And they're going ahead and advancing. So let's go ahead and advance the turn again. How far do they move? Okay, so they're moving. So the counter doesn't really show exactly the direction that they're going to move. It's just is pointing towards the target of where they're going to go to. So that's fine. Our search radius is definitely expanding out. And our seaplane. So let's back this up a little bit. And let's go ahead and click continue. Okay, it clicked. I think the search planes are about at the extent of their radius. So they should be coming back soon. Or starting to come back. And actually, you know what? I am going to change this task force autopilot hex. I don't want it going around that way because it's what it kind of looks like it's going to do. So we're going to turn the autopilot on, and I'm going to tell it to move there. So that's the nice thing. Every 20 minutes, you know, you could change where the task forces are going to if you want to, because it's for the last couple turns it's been inching up this way. Now it could have been inching up this way to move this way anyways, but let's just make sure that they don't go too far north into the range of Japanese carriers. Well, and even well, they'd have to get pretty far up there to get in range of the bombers at Rabaul, because we don't want those nasty Japanese planes bombing me, seeing as how they have no air cover. Okay, so let's go ahead and advance the turn again. All right, there we go. As you can see, this started to come back a little bit, and now our planes are over Gasmata. So let's consult the list. Okay. Oh, enemy scout spotted over TF-66. All right, so we got the report that Task Force 66 has an enemy scout over it. Does it mean that they've spotted the task force? No. Does it mean it's possible they've spotted the task force? Yeah, probably. But it's not always guaranteed. And it's a Japanese seaplane. You can just tell that by looking at it, and you know it's the Elsa. So let's go ahead. Which is Task Force 66? I think you should probably be able to figure that one out really easy. Yeah, Task Force 66 are these guys right here. Hopefully there's no Japanese carriers. Most airstrikes happen within 4 or 5 hexes, just because torpedo planes tend to only have a range of about 8 or 10. And so you got to fly out and back. So you really don't have to worry about most carrier-based strikes unless you're 4, 5, 6 hexes of somebody. Land-based, that's a little different. Land-based is something completely different. So let's go ahead and turn that off. All right. Okay, so now our planes are over Gasmata. And they're going to be bombing at 740, which is the phase we're going into. Yeah, the distance is 0. And of course, I forgot I forgot to send escorts along. But these are high-level bombers, so maybe the Japanese cap won't be too bad. Okay, go ahead and advance the turn. Okay, so here it is. Airfield attack on Gasmata. Okay, oh, really? So I've got 15 B-25s and 5 A-29s attacking Gasmata. However, Gasmata doesn't look like it has any aircraft. or at least none that are on the ground, and there's no cap. So maybe bombing them was kind of pointless because they don't have anything. So you get the setup, you push the next button, and it will do anti-aircraft fire. And it has air-to-ground factors left, so it'll be 7. The higher the anti-aircraft, the more of those little explosions you're going to see, which I think is really cool. And so once it goes to its anti-aircraft, and we see the effects of it, so their air-to-ground was ineffective. They didn't do anything to me. So let's go ahead and click for the next portion of the attack step. And there's my bomb. There's my bombers flying over. Hey, look at that. We did some type of damage to it. It's smoking. It's smoking. All right, Jim Carrey. And then you hit the next button, and it'll take us back out. Now, you go ahead and click on important events, and then you can kind of see the breakdown. Air-to-ground attack, 4 air units over Guasmata. You can go back. You can click the C button to watch the little graphics of it again. And then it's done. But what does that mean? We had smoke coming from an airfield. Well, we just go ahead and go back to our basic rules. Where is, I think it's probably under advanced, damage and repair. So here we have a list of all the damage types that can be on aircraft. Okay, here we have different damages on ships. So if it's smoke, it's major fire. If there's this white exclamation point with a red circle, means the flight deck is unusable, crippled, and then of course sunk. Let's see, I don't know if they have anything. Okay, airfields. Each hit on an airfield reduces its life point by 1 for each 5 life points lost. 1 runway is made inoperable. Okay. And then here's a listing of what the oil did: damaged flight deck, destroyed flight deck, major fire, minor fire, all that other stuff. All right, so yeah, okay, let's go back. So I was hoping to catch some planes on the ground, but evidently the Japanese did not have any planes on the ground there. So let's go to that. So it starts off with 5 hit points. Let's take a look at the life points. All right, so I didn't really damage the airfield at all, because I only had 4 aircraft, and you evidently need 5 to inflict a damage point. But had there been aircraft there, I could have had a chance of damaging them. But you know what? That's fine. That's a good example of how a strike is done. And now, see, remember what I told you about the Japanese having, this is probably coming from Rabaul, or this could be coming from Guasmata, but we have a Japanese airstrike here. Let's take a look at that. Big airstrike. Well, yeah, that kind of is a big airstrike. We got some zeros. We got some Kates. Vals? I think the B5N was Vals. But yeah, we got some dive bombers. I don't know what the B5N in that formation is. That could be, I think that is a Kate. Kates were torpedo planes. They may have put bombs on her because they're attacking Port Moresby. Now, something you need to look out for is you kind of got to know what the enemy aircraft are. The D3A, I think that's a ground-launched version, because sometimes you can tell where the airstrikes are coming from by the designation of the aircraft, because the Japanese may have used the same aircraft, but they would have different variations of the same aircraft that were either carrier-based or land-based. So, and if I was better with my Japanese aircraft knowledge, I would be able to figure it out. So right now, I'm hoping that this is airstrikes from Rabaul, or maybe from Guasmata. Because if not, that means his carriers would have to be... Those have got to be ground strike. Those have got to be ground launched. Yeah, because I don't think his carriers are right here. Yeah, I'm hoping his carriers are not right there. Hey, it's a computer game. I don't know what the setup for the Japanese is on this one. All right, so we can ignore that. But yeah, Port Moresby is about to get hit hard. So let's advance it. Okay, so, oh, there's another. Oh, G3Ms. Okay, those are bombers. Those are definitely land-based. Those may be coming from Leh. And so he's going to be doing the airstrike this turn. Let's see, what have we got above Port Moresby? Yeah, we've got plenty of cap. And as you can kind of see, I've got 4 units currently on cap, but 3 of my units are on the ground. They're refueling. It's going to take them 40 minutes to get back up. That's not good. They're going to be catching 3 of my units on the ground. Well, that's poopy. Oh, and look what else we've seen. All right, so our... Oops. Let's get back from this. Oh, stop that. Yeah. Click off. Why is that? I don't know why that's not going away. Anyways. Again, here's our searches. Those transports are still there. Well, the position was last updated at 540. However, look at what we got here. Let's take our look at our Japanese airstrike has been detected by coastal watchers. We've got an intelligence gain, 3966 by Port Moresby. Okay, so those would be coast watchers, I'm guessing. So let's take a look at what it is. We've got 2 units. So we've got a transport and large. Well, what does large mean? Well, let's go ahead and go back to the rules. And let's see, is it going to be under air searches? No, I don't think so. Ships and forces. Okay, right here. Ships move together, fighting task force. The more intelligence you gain on TF, the more details you get about its composition. On the map, touch the task force to get more details. Yep. As we can see, you can kind of see how it... Okay, so your first level of intelligence tells you kind of what it is. Then you got a good idea what the ships are. Then you get more detail to what the ships are. But, okay, so large. I don't know what the definition of large is, but we can assume it's bad. And so hopefully my coast watchers and my intelligence... Actually, this blue, I believe... Yeah, that's my air... That's my... Oh, geez. The green, that's my air search. So... Maybe next time we angle the air search more westwards because we've spotted these 2 task force right here. Okay, so what's that? Warning, Japanese airstrike. Yep, we got that. And they're going to bomb, so we go ahead and click, and there we go. Airfield attack on Port Moresby. So we've got... 3 units of Zeros, 5 units of dive bombers, 5 units of torpedo bombers, but I'm assuming they're in bombing formation. You don't want to drop a torpedo on an airfield. It doesn't do that good. I've got 2 aircraft P-36s on the ground, but I've got 5. That's actually pretty good. I've got 5 units, so I've got... I outnumber him in fighter craft, but God, those Zeros are going to tear those poor P-36s up. All right, so that's the setup. Let's look at ground fire. So this is cap and anti-aircraft. There. We see the effects of it. So we destroyed 10 torpedo planes. As you can see, that sees that right there. Destroyed times 2. We destroyed 2 counters. So that's 10 torpedo planes. That is actually a lot of aircraft shot down, especially for P-36s and the P-46s. Or that could also have been anti-aircraft fire. But now the problem is... Oh! Yeah, they bombed me pretty bad and damaged 2 of the squadrons that were on the ground. They caught the planes on the ground. That's not good. That's not good at all. And that's basically the combat. And now they're returning home. Oh, you may wonder, some of you sharp-eyed viewers may notice... Why the hell he's got neon green? Is he going to a rave or something? The airplanes will occasionally have different status symbols, colors on them to indicate different statuses. The neon green is returning to home from an airstrike. I don't remember what all of them are. They are listed in the rules. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. We got a carrier. I actually know what that is. I'm guessing that's the Shoho. Japanese had 3 carriers at Coral Sea. The was was going over this in my head earlier. I can't remember. The Shoho was one of the carriers, and the Shoho was assigned as carrier escort for the transports. It was, you could barely call it a carrier. I mean, it was a converted battle cruiser. It had an air complement of like 30 aircraft. Shokaku and what was the other one? Oh my God, this is embarrassing. The two other Japanese carriers were the Shokaku. I can't remember what the other Japanese carrier name was. Well, anyways, we'll get to it eventually anyways. So we've now spotted with our search aircraft, that is probably the Shoho. I'm hoping it's the Shoho. If it's their main carrier group, we may have issues. But we also know that there's a large complement of troop transports moving. Now, fortunately, transports are slow. They don't move one hex every hour and 20 minutes. It's like every 2 turns they move. And they've got probably a large surface escort. And then, of course, the Japanese carriers, which are, like I said, I am assuming that's the Shoho. So... their planes are returning. My planes are returning. Let's go ahead and take a look at my poor airbase. So they're damaged. The good thing is, oh, they were destroyed in cap. Oh, I didn't even see that. Let's go back to the mission. Oh yeah, okay. So right there. No, enemy fighters. Oh, they destroyed. Let's go ahead and go back and look through the actual. There's the cap and anti-aircraft. Yeah, it didn't show. Let's go with the bombers. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. So yeah, during the okay. So yeah, I took bad losses. I missed that earlier. Oopsie. So yeah. Port Moresby. I've got 3 squad. I lost 15 fighters. Yeah, like I said, I had a feeling those zeros were gonna chew through me. I've got 10 damaged planes. The good thing is Americans can repair their aircraft a lot better than the Japanese can, so there's a chance those will come back, leaving me with 2 lone P-39s to protect Port Moresby airfield. And as we can see, one of my SPDs on search. And then Christopher saying, whatever your earlier buffering issue was, it is resolved, has for quite a while, but it's still a bit better, at least in my opinion. Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad people are able to see this. And then for whatever reason, one of my search planes decided to abort the search, and so he's going to be on his way back. Let's go to the map view. And let's go back and pay attention to... Okay, so the Yorktown is in the hex I wanted her in, so she's just basically going to float there on station. Let's take a look at her. What's the Yorktown looking like? Yeah, I'm cycling aircraft. And then my SBDs are still on reconnaissance. Let's go back, and the Lexington is moving up. It's going to probably take 3 more turns, which would be, what, 4.5, 5 hours before they meet up with the Yorktown. And like I said, it doesn't say the exact day. It just says 1 day of 3. So I really don't know how far into the actual battle this is actually picking up. From what I'm seeing, though, it looks like it's picking up on the 2nd day of the battle, which is going to be different than how long they list the scenarios. But so it probably was in the scenario briefing. I probably should have read the scenario briefing a little bit better. But our search planes are still out. Let's go ahead and advance the turn. And as we can see, the blue bands or the blue bars are starting to contract, which means the aircraft are flying back. Ah, there we go. Got the sons of bitches. I must have just spotted them last turn. Yep. Japanese Carrier Task Force. Don't know what it is. Yeah, 840 last turn. At the most extreme maximum range, my guys spotted the Japanese carriers. Okay, that is huge. Absolutely huge. Let's get the Lexington up here, and once we combine both the task forces, then we can start heading north. And now I can narrow search my wedge on where I want my aircraft to search. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Let's take a look. Yeah. Important events. Yeah, he hasn't spotted me. Or I haven't spotted any search aircraft over me. Let's put it that way. So let's go back, and this will go into the... All my guys should move, and probably the Japanese task force as well. So let's take a look. Advance the turn. Ooh, 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 ooh. We got more intelligence. We got more intelligence. 1 to 2 carriers. Okay, let's hit consult a log. Intelligence gain. Yep. Uh-oh, there it is. Enemy scouts right there. Spotted over Task Force 44, and that's spotted over Task Force 17. Seaplanes and yeah, both seaplanes. I think that's the E-13A version was the one that was launched from ships, and that's just a normal seaplane. The H-6K was a seaplane. No, I don't remember what their designation was. So let's go back to here. But yeah, we got some more information. One, Shokaku and Juikaku. That's the 2 carrier names, Japanese carrier names. Shokaku and Juikaku. I knew it would come back to me. And then again, the Shoho is over here. Okay, these guys are in risk of getting attacked, because that's Task Force 44. They know the Japanese, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be the extended range of it. You know what I'm going to do? I can move one of my task forces. So let me take off autopilot real quick, and let's move them away from the Japanese carriers. So now the range is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's even extended range for anything. So, okay. So that should be safe. And now I can't set a new move. Or I guess I can set autopilot. So let's set autopilot. Again, let's just go straight across. Let's go straight across to here and have them continue moving. But yeah, I wanted to try to extend the range as much as I could between the carriers. Like I said, carriers are going to be able to hit you 5, 6, 7 hexes maybe. If the carrier is moving towards you and you're moving towards them, they could launch a strike at 7 hexes away. But so yeah, the Yorktown's sitting pretty, and the Lexington's coming up to join her. My aircraft back yet? Let's go ahead and check what we have at Port Moresby. Okay, so right here, my aircraft are landing. I've got four units that are landing. I don't want to call them squadrons because they're not squadrons. I mean, it's 5 aircraft. So I got 4 units that are landing. I've still got 2 units that aren't capped, but it looks like they're refueling right now, and 2 units that are damaged and hopefully being rapidly repaired by the deck crews. How long have we been going? Have we been going about an hour? Let me check. How long have we been going? It doesn't really say. I probably should have looked at the time before I started this. But I think this is probably a good length of time. I think this is a good point to cut it. We've got a good idea. Well, oh yeah, that's that's the carriers. I saw this light pink when I was thinking that maybe another task group had showed up. All right, so we know where the Japanese carriers are at, roughly. We just need to get our carrier task forces combined. Need to make sure our anti-troop transport doesn't get bombed. And, oh, what is that? Japanese airstrike. I have no... How can you lose Port Moresby? It's on the map, so I have no idea why the Japanese airstrike is over there. And then I've got airplanes that are landing. Oh, my bombers are going to catch my bombers on the ground if they head towards there. Am I under cloud cover? No, it doesn't look like I'm under cloud cover, but there is a rain squalls in the area. That may be throwing the Japanese planes off. So I think this would probably be a good place to go. I do want to continue this, so let's go ahead. Settings. Let's go. How do I save? You know, I've never ran into it. So browse the rules summary. I think it autosaves. I pray it autosaves. Settings. Show tooltips, nothing there. Back. There's nothing for save. I'm hoping it saves. Let's check it real quick. Let's go back to the main menu. Saved games. Okay. Okay, here we go. Here's all my saved. Should probably go through and cull these. Yeah, that saves a bunch of them. But yeah, okay, so here we are. Coral Sea, 920, day 1 of 3. And that's right now, and that's this time. All right, so I was a little bit worried there. I hadn't checked the save game feature. So basically, yeah, that's a look at carrier battles. Coral Sea. Yeah, we're going to continue this on Twitch, maybe a day or two. I am going to be also putting this up on YouTube because Twitch doesn't save videos for very long. It's like 30 days if you're not a premium member or what that. But the good thing is I can download it from Twitch and put it up on YouTube, so I can put it on YouTube for posterity's sake and for the people who didn't get a chance to see. So let's go ahead and let's see what's in the channel real quick. I know my buddy Christopher was in here. Thank you for being here. Mr. Quaker Sam, thank you for being here and here. Let's see, who else is in here? A few people. We had 5 people. So again, thank you everybody for watching, and I guess that's it. Question. Oh, hold on. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms in the comments section. All right, there's no comment section on Twitch, but there will be on YouTube. See ya. Yes, I have fun doing this. It's why I do it.